only been a year and a half, but about this time last year, my opponent called me the Elizabeth Warren Bernie Sanders candidate that was recruited. Please, did any of y'all recruit me? Because I haven't found that person yet that recruited me. So if y'all know who that is, please let me know. They're just attacking because this district is one of the most flippable in Texas, in Denton County, which is shocking. People are like, what do you mean you can flip a district in Denton County? We can. The numbers are there, but we have to contact the voters. I have been using the latest technology, I have texted about 40,000 voters in my district. We have to clean the data up. The data in Denton County is awful. And I am now starting the predictive dialer on phone banking, which is awesome. And you guys, if anybody, and I'm going to tell you guys, if you are open, working on another campaign, there's something you want to know how to help, I have probably already asked the question, got the answer, and can help you. Call me. I try to stay off social media. I can't be doing everything because it is about contacting the voters. We have to let them know that they have alternatives. Chris Lopez is running on a district that is D+2, D+4. That is in Denton County, guys. It should not have a Republican on it. But why is there a Republican there? Tell us, Chris. Why is there a Republican there? Who ran last time? Yeah, nobody ran last time. Yeah, he's not issuing marriage licenses. Yeah, it's awful. So find a candidate, help them. And we all need your help. We have to work together. We have to be unified. And that is the message we are fighting. We are unified. Our party really has little kind of squabbles, but we do not have the break that the Republicans have, and we need to take advantage of it. They have a break. Republicans have been coming to me for the last year. They aren't happy with who's there right now. These are not the Republicans they grew up with. These Tea Party Republicans that we have in Denton County are horrible. So we have the alternatives. We're going to help the immigrants. We are going to promote Medicaid for all at the state level, which will then get the federal government, single payer or universal, whichever version. We've got to give them the base to start with. The House districts are so important because they're small enough that we know them and we help bring everybody up. And so just really help a candidate. We're probably all going to tell you the same. Pick a candidate and help us. Thank you.
All right, our next candidate is Ramona Thompson from HD 106.
Hey, thanks for having me here tonight. Is this thing even working? I don't think it's working. Is it working? Yeah. Yes? Okay, good. So I don't know if any of you are even in my district, but I drove all the way over here because I wanted to give you an important message. It's something that occurred to me actually yesterday while I was at the convention. I was at the Lady Bird Johnson breakfast, and there were some women who were speaking, and there was, of course, their fan base was in the audience, and there was this one woman who was speaking, and a couple of her fans stood up after she said something that they liked. You know how you do sometimes. You spontaneously get to your feet. And so they did that. And then they looked around and nobody else was standing. And so they quickly sat down. And I've noticed this when I've been a long-time subscriber to the symphony, the Dallas Symphony. And when we go to the symphony, a lot of times I'm the one on my feet, and I may or may not have everybody else join me. But when everybody else doesn't join in, it feels really awkward. And so the tendency is then to go ahead and just sit right down. This is what's been happening to Democrats in Texas for the last 25, 30 years, is that we occasionally have one, step up to the plate and go, I'm going to take one for the team and put myself on the ballot, but then there's nobody behind them. And because we don't have people on the ballot, we don't have Democrats coming out to vote. And in my district in particular, which I'm going to show you where that is in just a minute, we don't have any good numbers for my district. My district was redrawn after the 2012 legislative session. And we did have a Democrat step up to run in my district in 2014. She got about 30% of the vote. But because that was really the only competitive, it wasn't even, there was no primary. So the primary is where you really identify where your base is. There was no primary. And so we know what the final numbers are, but how many people didn't even bother to come out and vote? Because there's not enough buzz, there's not enough, motivation, there's no neighbor tapping you on the shoulder going, hey, did you hear about, we should go vote. It's that kind of thing that is going to take for us this year. And make no mistake, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I have lived in Texas for 40 years. I was here when it was a Democratic state. I remember what it was like. It's been a long, dry spell, let's put it that way. And it's time for us to step back into the limelight and take our place. It's not going to happen automatically. We have an incredible slate. If you were not at the convention, I urge you to go on to the Texas Democratic Party and watch some of the speakers at the convention. I'm telling you, they are a fantastic lineup of candidates. They are the kind of candidates you can enthusiastically get behind, and you can talk about them, and that's what you have to do. And here's the other thing you have to do. You have to tell every single person that you interact with to pull the straight D ballot. So not only go to vote for Beto and Lupe and Kim, but pull it all the way down. That is critical because your local races are the ones that affect you the most. And a lot of people don't understand that. So it's going to be up to you guys to get that message out there. By the way, it's the last year that you can vote a straight ticket. So I'm telling you, this is our best chance ever to flip Texas. It's our best chance in your lifetime, for sure. Now, I want to just show you where my district is, because probably none of you know where it is or even live over there, but I'm in the Frisco area. So my district starts at 121 down there, and it goes all the way up the side of the North Dallas Tollway. And on that side, it's the Lake Louisville. Okay, so we go the Colony, Frisco, Little Elm, and then it goes up into the rural areas. So it's a gerrymandered district, duh, and it's got urban and rural. So it goes all the way up to the Denton County border, and then it comes over and it picks up Sanger. Is there anybody here from Sanger? Yeah. If you know anybody in Sanger, I need some folks out there. It's kind of a long, long way from the rest of my district. So I'm telling you that because I really, we don't have any colleges or universities in my district. We have high schools. We've arranged voter registration drives in all of the Frisco high schools. And the night before, we had the whole team going out to register kids. The night before it was supposed to happen, Frisco ISD canceled it with no explanation. Now, we'll do it again, but the bottom line is I don't have young people that I have identified in my district. So if you guys know anybody over there, first of all, they should be part of your group. But secondly, I would love for you to put them in touch with me. So again, that's it for me. Just make sure that, I know I'm preaching to the choir, so I'm on board with all these issues that everybody's been talking about. So rather than talk about that, I just want to talk to you about how important this year is and what you specifically have to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you to all the candidates for coming out today and speaking to us.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Do you guys care if I sit, or do you want me to stand? I'm going to sit. Great. Yeah. It's been a long day, man. It's been a long weekend. All right, so I just have a few things for you guys, and then I'm going to let the committee speak. All right, good evening, young Democrats. All right, we have a lot of business to go over this evening. As many of you know, Adam vacated the presidency to accept the position as Beto's field coordinator for the DFW area. Is he in here? He's here. All right. With the position vacated as per the Constitution, I am the current chair of the organization, pending a special election to be held next month, at which time I will be running to be elected as chair for the remainder of my term. The Rules Committee will brief you more on that. All right, so I want to talk to you about two things, and I'm going to let the committee speak, all right? First, I want to talk to you about showing up and showing out. It is imperative that we attend rallies, marches, vigils, and other gatherings which promote awareness for our causes. We need to maintain visibility within our community, the state, and this country as it pertains to resisting the Trump agenda. Don't just show up, though. Show up and then get involved. Don't just attend the Moms Demand Action event. Show up and then get involved with your local chapter. Don't just show up to a vigil. Show up to a vigil and then make calls to your local lawmakers. See if you can donate money to attorneys that are working for these causes. Don't just go to a women's march. Go to the women's march and then support Planned Parenthood or get involved with a campaign fighting for women's equality. Don't just attend Young Democrat meetings. We love to see you, but don't just attend meetings. Attend and then figure out how you can use your talents and your gifts to turn this county blue over and over and over again. This movement, this fight that we are in right now needs all of us, giving all of us. We cannot be content with cool photos and snazzy swag. We have to fight, and that looks like participation, guys, okay? The second thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was getting on board. So every time I talk to someone, people will say to me, that race is unwinnable. Almost every race that I ask about, people say that is unwinnable. Okay. And I say what needs to happen for it to be winnable. Because I am willing to knock on doors until I do not have skin on my knuckles. I am willing to walk blocks until I do not have tread on my shoes. We can organize voter registration rallies every single month. But I cannot do it by myself. We cannot do it by ourselves. You guys have got to participate. This week, upon learning there were essentially concentration camps for babies, something in me just broke. And when a friend called me to make sure I was okay, he asked me what about the situation in its entirety worried me the most and was bringing me the most grief, and I told him. What is causing me the most despair is the knowledge that the enemy is unified and we are not. I consider everyone in this room to be a leader within this party, but leaders lead people. Leaders lead. We do not have the luxury, if we ever had the luxury, of fighting each other. People say if we turn Denton blue, we can turn Texas blue, and if we turn Texas blue, then the country will follow. It is not enough for you to commit to just casting your vote. You're going to have to commit to casting your vote, and then you're going to have to lead other people to the polls so they can cast theirs. To quote Deborah Peoples from this weekend's convention, this isn't about any of us. It is about all of us. And in my soul, I've committed to fight as hard as I can in every way I know how, using every resource I have available for everyone I can, but I cannot do it by myself. Because at the end of the day, I understand children don't belong in cages. Women's rights are human rights. Love is love. Black lives do matter. Global warming is real, and a myriad of other realities. But if we don't fight together, we will lose. That is my... That is my plea to you guys. I get it. I get it. We've got wounds to lick. We've got issues. We've been offended. I understand. But what is happening right now is bigger than everyone in this room. We are losing our democracy, and I don't think you people get it. People are just throwing away races in 2018 and hoping for 2020. And I hate to be alarmist, but if we don't get 2018, we're not going to make it to 2020. And that's real. So we don't have the time to fight each other. We don't have the time to have petty arguments and disagreements. And even if you say, you know what, Paige, I really don't like that person. I really don't think I can work for them. That's fine. There are a myriad of other candidates. Get on board with somebody and help. When I look in this room, you guys are the creme de la creme. You are the best this county has to offer. Man, we got to lead the way. And when I think about the young Democrats, what I see us being the example for the Democrats, period, in this county, and the Democrats in this state, and the Democrats in this country. So that's all I have to say, and then I will move on to the committees.
Madam Chair, I move to accept May minutes.
All right, y'all stick with me because I suck with Robert's rules. Can I get a second? Okay. Can we, is everyone on board with us? Is it unanimous consent? Accepting it by unanimous consent? Yes, okay. No. We move on, okay. All right, so I'm gonna move on to fundraising, which is me. All right, so as you know, we pushed out some T-shirts this month, which was, can you guys hear me when I move away from the mic like this or no?
Just talking to it as much as possible.
Talking to the mic. Oh, okay. All right, so we pushed out our T-shirts this month, and I just want you guys to know, last month a lot of people contributed, and we did not squander your money. We literally took everything we had and we invested it in swag so that we can generate our own funds. And so we are doing really well. Yeah, we broke even thus far for the T-shirts. Yeah. So that's good. That's really good. Yeah, right. So we do have this month we're launching the check writing campaign, and I believe George already posted that, where he just basically put the link on our Facebook, and we're just asking if you guys can give, if you know some people that can give to the organization, to please do that. So that's what we're going to be doing for this month. Also, we have a total of 11 spots on the fundraising committee, so we are not full by any means. If you would like to join the committee, if you say, well, I don't have any experience, that's fine. We'll take you. So, yeah, we got you. So if you'd like to join the fundraising committee, just get with me after the meeting, and we'll jump you on. So that's all I have for fundraising. I'm going to hand it over to finance. I know you guys saw that today we're going to talk about dues. So we're going to fully explain that. Just be gentle. Don't be hostile, okay?
Actually, we do dues after we do the rest of the committee, the business. But all right. Well, first let me actually get to the update one, because actually, do you have a copy of the copy of the office? I don't know if so I can not look at my computer. I don't like doing that. All right. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to see you guys here. I just came back from the convention as well, and it was so much fun. And then I came back and I was like, uh-oh, got to write 2 reports for this meeting. But here we are. And so I would like to give you guys a small update about our money situation. So the first thing is that we are officially official with the IRS and the Texas Ethics Commission as a PAC. And for those of you who didn't attend the meeting last month, the reason why we decided to move toward the PAC structure is that it gave us the most flexibility as far as when we're getting donations and other opportunities that may come up. It allows us a lot more flexibility to work together with the parties, with the Democratic Party at the county party level, and it allows us to do a lot more work as far as promoting the party as well with our slate. We are a GPAC, which means that we don't promote that there's a difference between the two. So we have a specific PAC, which usually is just one candidate, one ballot initiative. GPAC is a general PAC. Oh, PAC, by the way, is Political Action Committee. So I know it sounds really scary because we keep talking about PACs and whatnot. The things that we are actually afraid of are things called super PACs. And those are the ones that people tend to like donate. It's only large donors that funnel a lot of money into these. Most PACs are small donor PACs, kind of like ours, where we're just kind of small individuals giving into a big pot, hoping that we're going to make a big impact this way. So don't be afraid about that we're a PAC now. We're still going to keep doing things the way that we have. We just filed the paperwork this way, so that way we aren't restricted as much on what we can and can't do. Our bank account is officially up and running, which is why we've been able to write checks for things like merchandise. And so we have done that. And then so let's talk about kind of like the state of our finances right now. So the first thing is, and they aren't here, but I wanted to extend out thanks to people who are not members of our organization, who are not young Dems of Denton County. So we have Lindsay Fagan, Sally Ortega-Haynes, Amy Manuel, and Dr. Angie Cadena all gave a small contribution to our club, and I thank them for our investment so high if they're watching it on the stream. So that's among our $545 of contributions that have hit our bank. So far we now we have sold more than that, but those that have come with our, so if anyone has ever worked with Act Blue sends you a check once a week. And so basically the amount of merchandise that's been paid for through Act Blue, through like checks or cash, that we actually can cash into our bank account is $390. So the ones that have been able to be deposited in the bank is around $835. So yes. So good job, everybody. Now, what's outstanding is that we have $169 worth of contributions that still haven't hit our account. That's checks that I haven't gotten a chance to go deposit. And as well as $165 worth of merchandise, then that check should be coming probably about Thursday if last week was any indication. And that takes us, that's how much we've raised so far. Now with paid out, is that every time we get an Act Blue contribution, they take out a small percentage. So this time around, it was $10.77. And we spent about $465 worth of merchandise. So far expenditures are $475.77. And then right now that's outstanding is that we've got some stickers that we haven't quite, well, the check hasn't cleared yet, so that's why it's still not outstanding. And for any of you guys, for all these events, I know that a lot of people paid out of pocket. Please let me know if you're going to do that as an in-kind contribution or if you want to get reimbursed. I just need receipts in order to get that as a reimburse. Actually, I need receipts either way, so that way I know how to report them. So just let me know on that. And which means right now, our official cash on hand is $329.23. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but considering that our bank account only opened like 3 weeks ago, I think we're doing pretty good. And the only other new business that the Finance Committee is going to be taking care of this week, or this month, is that besides the club dues, which we'll talk about at the end of all the committee reports, it's going to, that we have a semi-annual report, so you guys can get the big breakdown of how everything is going once we submit that to the TEC, so. I could actually post one of these days what our actual like TEC, they have like you get like a number, so, but that is all I have for the.
Next we have communication.
Of course, sure, I'm very tall. How's it going, you guys? Good, good, good. So everyone on this table and I am really loud. I don't need it to be that close to my mouth. A lot of us just came from the convention. I know that it's been a long week, and I know that this is going to be a long several months up until the general, and I know it's exhausting, but we're behind, so, it's going to continue to be exhausting. Just keep drinking your coffee, take your little micro naps, and pray for daylight, because we're in this together. Communications update. So we have established when all of the orientations are. Tamsin has those dates. We'll discuss them afterward if anyone wants to get involved. We'd love any and all volunteers to show up to as many orientations as you can. We are also coordinating with TWU right now. I'm sorry. to hand out literature, to give out information about our organization, and to help the college Dems as well. We're also going to be we're going to sign up, or we already have signed up. We've already signed up for the move-in weekend. It's August 18th and 19th. We are volunteering our time, yes, to move in these little children into their new homes, AKA they can vote. So what we're doing is we're going to have a sign-up sheet for that as well coming up soon. As many as would like to. We're handing out water bottles, lit. Yes, we're moving furniture. Yes, it's going to be hot. Yes, it's my birthday weekend, but I'm going to be there. So please don't make an excuse. Thank you. Thank you. 31. Speaking of literature, we're working on getting that done, this week, and getting that printed. Our idea is that we're going to start with a stock base, and then the more events that we have, and the more things that are coming up, we can switch them out and not pay for too many up front. That way we can switch them quicker and have more things to put on our lit to get into people's faces. We also have talked about, really, I am very loud. We've also discussed stand in front of the camera, sorry. We've also discussed how we want to reach out to candidates about doing 20-second videos right around there, specifically addressing young Dems and putting them on our page, giving them their own personal platform, as well as kicking off Candidate Mondays, where we're going to give them a one-week highlight for each candidate, but specifically giving them an opportunity to shoot their own video, saying, hey, young Dems of Denton County, this is who I am, this is what I'm representing, I'm HD so-and-so, this is why I'm important for you and why I need your vote and why I need your support. So we want to outreach to them and give them that platform, which is a great idea from the membership and recruiting. Everybody, good job. We are also, as far as social media, we're going to start getting our Twitter. We have a meeting, PR's meeting, Wednesday. I'm sorry, there are 3. PR's meeting on Wednesday. We're going to talk about upping our Twitter game, getting ready for voter registration parties. Also, another membership and recruiting thing is we need to get involved with our precinct chairs. Ramona mentioned, I wanted to quote her. Ramona made a good point about needing to get the buzz out. I think that one of the things we need to take better advantage of in Denton County is who our precinct chairs are. Finding out if there are young Dems that live in precincts without precinct chairs, first and foremost. 2, giving them the courage and the knowledge to step up and become one, and then also getting us all in a room so we can formulate a plan together to go block walk our own neighborhoods, meet our neighbors, and get the vote out. Because while I think it's incredibly important to support your candidates, what's even more incredibly important is knowing who your neighbors are and knowing who are Democrats, who are voters or non-voters, and helping them to the polls. Just my opinion, 4009, I got you. When speaking with Jen for, I want to say maybe 10 minutes tops, the amount of knowledge that comes from Van and the things that she knows is incredible, and we're ready to help as much as we can. And I really think that a precinct chair meet and greet so that we all get together is a really great start to pushing forward to November. Just my opinion. Okay. Then we have events. We had our social. It was so much fun. I want to thank Richard again for letting us use your home. Thank you, yes. That was a lot of fun. We do have swag, we do have our shirts, we do have our YDDC stickers, we do have our little logo stickers. Get this on camera, stickers. So if you want any of that after the meeting, come approach us, let us know. We are, like I said, getting literature on the ground. We're pushing forward. For us, the future is really hitting it hard on the knowledge, like getting people the knowledge they need to help get the vote out. That's our number one concern right now. But again, also with helping college Dems and being really apparent in the college community and the high school communities. I think I'm done now. Thank you for your time.
All right, next we got rules.
Howdy. All right, so this is going to be a little long. So if you've looked online or if you have one of the copies, we are going to go through the amendment process. Requires a simple majority vote to pass any section. And this is relating mostly to special elections. We will also be talking about endorsement processes. We're going to start with the special election processes. I know last meeting we did discuss the ethics committee. Unfortunately, we had to push that off until next month for the committee, since we did have the need for special elections, obviously, since our president had to step down. So that's why we did push special elections up to the forefront. So I'll go ahead and read them section by section, and then we'll vote on them by section, if that's okay with the chair. All right. So Article 4, special election, Section 1, causes. Subsection A, a special election is held in the case of resignation, death, or removal from office for any reason. An executive or subsection 1, an executive board member vacancy must be announced to the YDZ membership through all pertinent platforms within 48 hours of the vacancy. So that is Section 1. Is there a motion on the floor to approve Section 1 and to adopt Section 1?
A motion to approve and adopt Section 1.
All right, Thomas. Seconded by Richard. All right. All in favor of adopting Section 1, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
So just a point of order. We're not going to open discussion?
Oh, that is my bad. Yes. Any discussion? Any discussion on Section 1? Any discussion? Seeing none? Sorry about that. I am really tired. All in favor of approving and adopting Section 1, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right. So the chairs, in the eyes of the chair, Section 1 is now approved and adopted, and it is a part of the bylaws. On to Section 2. This is specifically relating to presidential vacancies. Section 2, subsection A. As per Article 3, Section 2, subsection B of the Constitution, which relates to officer roles, the Vice President immediately assumes the role of President, hereafter referred to as the Interim President. Subsection B, an election for President shall be held in accordance with Article 4, Section 3 of the bylaws. Subsection C, at the General Assembly meeting announcing the special election, the interim president must announce their intent to officially seek the role of president. Subsection 1, if the interim president does choose to seek the role of president, the role of vice president will then be considered open, and a special election shall be held in accordance with Article 4, Section 3 of the bylaws. Subsection 2, if the interim president does not choose to seek the role of president, they shall remain vice president following the special election of the president. In this scenario, no special election shall be held for a vice presidential position. Any discussion on Section 2 of Article 4? Any discussion? Any discussion? Would someone like to move to adopt Section 2? Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, Section 2 is now adopted. Section 3, procedures. Subsection A, following a vacancy, the duties of the open office are assumed by the remaining members of the officer board as seen fit, unless otherwise stated in the Constitution. Subsection B, any vacancy filled as a part of the special election is to fill the remainder of the original term. Subsection C, at the next special or regular meeting of the General Assembly, the open election to complete the remainder of the term must be announced to the General Assembly and publicly posted to all available outlets. Subsection D, the Executive Board must give at least 2 weeks and no more than 4 weeks between the announcement of the election and Election Day. Subsection 1, candidates may announce their candidacy within the intervening period or from the floor. Subsection 2, any current Executive Board member that wishes to run for the vacant position must announce their intent to run at the meeting announcing the special election. For all intents and purposes, their position will then be considered open and election will ensue. Subsection 1, if the Executive Board member does not win the position they are seeking, they may announce from the floor their intent to reseek their former position. This is the only exception to Article 4, Section 3, subsection D, subsection 2. Any discussion on Section 3? Thomas? Kevin? Evan? I know you, Thomas. Evan Amberson, Thomas Gravy. I know who you are. I'm just really tired. All right, Evan.
So that last subsection that says that if an officer
but they will still have to run for election.
Wouldn't that cause us to have all of those elections in a specific order to allow them to lose and announce their intention to run for the
Correct.
position?
Section 4 does address that. So yes, that concern was noted during our committee meeting, and we did address it within the amendments. So thank you, Evan. I know who you are.
That's also addressed in subsection 4, isn't it? Yeah. I think so. It ends up. Sorry. So what it ends up doing is, whenever anybody else does it, based off of the order in which the resignations occur. So in this case, Adam resigns. We have an interim president now, and then all of the duties. And in normal cases, it would be that those duties are split. But because Paige was the vice president, and it is different for the president, the role shifts up. Paige is still doing all of her job as finance, as well as the president, until such a time that we elect somebody. For any other board member that chooses to step up or resign, those burdens will be shared across all of the executive board until such a time that they're supposed to be replaced.
Correct.
Yeah, or as the executive board sees fit. So if the executive board wants to say one person takes it all over, or
Yeah.
they want to split it amongst all 4 remaining members, that's their prerogative as elected members.
And that's identified in. Correct. That's identified in Section 3, subsection A.
And does anybody want to help, like, pass the mic and make it easier in case everybody can't hear? Thank you.
So yes, Section 3, subsection A does deal with that. We were against the appointment of interim officers, just so we don't get like the Gerald Ford effect where no one feels like they represent the entire body. So instead, we said all the executive board members are already elected by the general body, so they already have the trust. So the duties can be, accurately dispersed amongst them. So that's really why Section 3, subsection A exists. But yeah, any other discussion points? I don't speak Spanish, so that's going to be hard for me.
I actually speak a good amount of Spanish. I've worked in kitchens.
Oh, really?
Yes. Solamente a la cocina. Which means I only speak Spanish in the kitchen. Which, by the way, is mostly just cuss words and jokes towards each other.
Are there any other discussion points for Section 3? Seeing none, would someone like to move to adopt Section 3 into our bylaws? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, Section 3 is now adopted. Section 4, elections, subsection A. The special election shall follow the procedure set out by Article 4 of the Constitution. Elections are held in the order of which they were announced at the meeting prior to the special election. That'll allow for That'll allow for subsection D, subsection 2, subsection 1 to work out. So that's why that's in place. Any other questions or any discussion points on Section 4? Seeing none, would someone like to move to adopt Section 4?
I move to adopt and accept Section 4 of the bylaw. Article 4 of Section 4 of the bylaw.
All right. Andrew moved, Evan seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it's been moved and passed. All right, we now have special election procedures. Woo! And as stated before, Paige has already announced her declaration to run again, so that's been established. And before the meeting, all officers that want to run for any position, or I guess it would just be president or vice president, would have to announce by the end of this meeting.
So are you calling a special election for the next meeting?
That is up to the chair, and we are.
At the next general meeting? Okay, so 4 weeks from now.
And you have 2 weeks to announce your intent to run for office publicly. So online, through email, just telling everyone. just announce, make sure we find out. You have 2 weeks.
If it can get to Jordan, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
You don't really have to announce 2 weeks before, but more time you give your friends the ability to set up time to come, the better.
Sweet.
So,
All right.
and given that Paige is seeking, we'll have president and vice presidential elections.
Correct. So we are looking for a vice president.
And a president.
Well, and a president. Not assuming. But she's going to. All right. Article 5, endorsements. Now, I'll explain a little before we go too far into this, because I already know there's going to be some discussion on this one. So the idea behind Article 5, endorsements, was not us stating that we do wish to endorse candidates in the future. It is giving the ability to future officer boards to decide, and future general assemblies, to decide whether or not we want to endorse. So it isn't just something that's, that bars the General Assembly from endorsing. It's up to the General Assembly, because General Assemblies will come and go, new ideas will prosper, and it shouldn't be up to some old people in 2017 and 2018 to decide. In the future we'll be old. So. Article 5, endorsements, Section 1, candidates, subsection A, YDDC may endorse candidates in some or all races. Subsection B, for partisan races, YDDC will only consider endorsing Democratic candidates. If no Democratic candidate exists in a particular race, a non-Democratic candidate may be endorsed according to the application process. Subsection C, YDDC supports the Democratic slate during the general election. So this is not it, obviously. We're not ending here. We have to, the bylaws committee, the rules committee, will come back to this after probably next month, hopefully, if not by August, to flesh out the endorsement process. Now, it really doesn't matter because we only have the Democratic slate until next, May. So this is pretty much just a guiding stone for us. So are there any discussion points? Leslie.
I have a lot of thoughts. I'm not even sorry. So may endorse in some and or all races seems really vague. Is this like a run for something endorsement where you have to be a young Democrat and get an endorsement? Or do we have an endorsement procedure? I'm going to ask all the questions because I think you probably have answers to all of them. The second being, shouldn't there be something like the General Assembly has to vote and meet X quota in order to have an endorsement process? And there should be a process for unendorsing candidates. Like, look at groups like Stonewall. The last time a bunch of people showed up to one of our meetings was for endorsements, and I ain't seen those people in Pride's on Saturday. Like, y'all gonna help us or not? Like, if you want our endorsement, you have to work with us, work for us, and like be a part of our, like, you can't just get endorsed, put it on your lit, and be like, all right, see you guys in the general, come block walk. Like, no,
Yep.
They're a little vague. I know this is something we're probably not gonna vote on, but food for thought. That was a lot, but there you go.
Gotcha. So we do have answers, and the answer is the committee has not reached a point where we went into the weeds on this. We just wanted to see if the General Assembly wanted to have an endorsement process. So this is us giving y'all the ability to say yay or nay on the endorsement process. And if y'all don't, we don't. We don't go forward into this. We don't make the application process and all that jazz.
So, am I on? Yeah. So this is going to be my one and only comment on this, and then I have to go. If YDDC does not want to endorse and go into all of that mess, then vote to reject this amendment, and then in Rules Committee, I'm sure Jordan will back me up on this, we will go back in and rewrite Section 5 to say YDDC will not endorse.
Exactly.
And so this is just setting it up so that if we vote Article 5 in, we will go back into Rules Committee, we'll have a far more fleshed out process to present covering everything that Leslie just mentioned in terms of unendorsing, endorsing, what that process looks like, how people will apply, how people will be accepted into the application process, and whether or not we'll have criteria such as young Dem, Democrat, having been around, and all of that, so that we are cognizant of that, but we didn't want to dive all into that and then come into this meeting and have everyone say, actually, we don't want to endorse.
Correct. So that was the thought process behind just giving y'all the bare bones, Article 5, and then going straight into it so y'all can vote on the processes at a different point. All right, Leslie?
The second thing is this going to be something that people can vote on online? I know we're pushing people that can't be here. Convention just ended. I feel like if we're deciding
So this was announced at the May meeting. This was brought up during my Rules Committee presentation at the last meeting. So we did have a month of knowledge of this, and I did read the wording off, and I did say next month we will be voting on this. So this was, I was cognizant of people are going to have opinions on this, obviously. So I did bring it up at the last General Assembly meeting we did have. So, Thomas.
Sorry, let me wait for the mic real quick. Thank you, sorry. Thank you. All right, cool. So, I honestly do believe that the Young Dems should have an endorsement policy, period. Some procedure by which we go through as an organization in which we endorse candidates in order to make sure that the platform that Young Dems put forward, the ideas that the Young Dems truly feel like supporting are actually met. And like you were saying, you know, not get people that just show up to get what they want and then never show up again. I do believe in the current version, I don't feel comfortable putting it in there, given that even though we would go back and amend what's in there, rather I would actually like to ask the chair to table this until we come back with a further clarified document and make sure that if we have the ability to, that we give people the opportunity to provide feedback. When we were in the Rules Committee, we had a lot of discussion about this. And the whole thing was to bring it in front of y'all so y'all could actually hear what we were thinking. If y'all don't feel comfortable with it, obviously it's gonna come to a vote one way or another, but if it were me, and my suggestion is that we move to, or I can actually move to table it during this portion, but you know, I don't, as part of the Rules Committee, I don't feel comfortable doing that because I hemmed and hawed, and I voted yes on bringing it to the group, but I do not necessarily feel comfortable putting it into the bylaws with the configuration that it's currently in.
All right, Evan, your hand was up first. And then Andrew and then Michelle.
I move to table this.
All right, any discussion points on tabling? Andrew?
This may be a perfect opportunity to test online voting. Because if one of the concerns is it's just everyone in this room gets to decide for the entire body, why don't we open it up and have 1 month's whole of online voting? If comms is up for the task, this may be a perfect opportunity. So when we come into July's meeting, we can have the report of is Section 5 adopted or not adopted.
Well, one moment, let me look through the rules and see if that's possible.
Right here. Was someone before me? I'm sorry. Did I cut into someone? I am. I just don't know if for the video it'll work, right? And my thinking is, if the base discussion is whether or not we want to have an endorsement policy at all. No, I have a question. Why are you talking, phone? I thought it was the voice up there. It's the voice down here. I guess the better question is, do we just want to change this language and say we do want to have endorsement policies, but as written right now, let's go back and say, yes, we want to have them. Rules Committee flush them out from A to Z and rewrite this to just say, we do have an endorsement policy, it will come soon, or are we wanting to say, we're stuck between whether we want to have endorsements or not? Can I just get some clarity on that?
I think that's the latter. Well, it's two things. One, people are uncomfortable with the idea of those of us that made it to just this meeting. Yeah, I was announced in May. I was at the May meeting. I don't remember that. It was a month ago. I'm sorry, Jordan. Great. But it's like we should open it up to the whole body. I like Andrew's idea of like online voting should be endorsed. And even if that isn't the discussion we're having, this is super vague. And a lot of us are uncomfortable with just like, we know you have the right to amend it, but putting it into our bylaws, as vague as it is, just feels a little like putting the cart before the horse.
So, okay, two things.
That's me.
I'm sorry, yes.
No,
I know
it's
you're
cool.
about to tell me.
Can I have the mic? Yeah. Okay, so one of the things is that technically because the motion was put in for tabling it, we have to address the motion, but the chair is the one that makes the decision on that. The next part of that is in terms of voting, we have to write bylaws for that too. That's what makes it challenging. Is like I can put up like a very simple tenable poll that would give us the ability to gather something quickly, and we make sure that whatever address was used is included inside of the registration rolls for people that have come and are in quote unquote good standing right now, and we can go forward with that. But it would definitely need everybody here's approval under those grounds, and then I could put together like a simple like Google poll. It wouldn't be built into a website or anything like that with like fun checks and balances that make it actually safe and so people don't spoof it. But I can set up at least some poll that would give us the ability to vote on this after language is selected.
So motion on the floor is to table. Any discussion on tabling the motion? Is this a motion? Is this a discussion point on tabling?
Yes.
All right.
The only reason I moved the table is because it's not fleshed out. I don't feel comfortable having it in there right now, and as it is now, I would vote nay. But once it's fleshed out, I'd be happy to have endorsement policies in there.
Brian?
The question I would have on that, is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, is if you're tabling it, are you tabling it to a date certain, and what action is to be taken between now and then, or will this just come back up in its current form? Are you tabling it for the Rules Committee to flesh it out further, or whatnot? So,
all right. I'm gonna pull Article 5 from consideration in general, and I will send it back to the Rules Committee. So no need to table. I'm pulling it from consideration. So yeah, that's it for Article 5 endorsements.
I just wanted to say something, and I'm sure it's probably, can I just say what I want to say? I trust Jordan to come up with a good process for endorsement. I trust his team to do that. And if we make our decisions, whether we're going to endorse or not, let's not make our decisions on endorsing candidates based on, I don't like that person, I don't want them to be endorsed. Let's trust the committee to come up with a process that works to make sure whoever receives our endorsement deserves it, okay? Let's just take the emotion out of the endorsement and make it about, do you really stand for our principles and the things that we stand for as an organization?
All right, before I go further into my committee report, just by a show of hands, how many of you are in support? This is not a vote. This is an unofficial poll. How many of you would be in support of an endorsement process? How many would you be against an endorsement process? All right, I'm just seeing where we're all at. So yeah, that'll be sent back to committee. And seeing that we want a fleshed out version submitted first, that's what we'll do. And seeing that most of y'all already do believe we should have an endorsement process, we'll go through with that. So other areas of discussion we spoke of at our committee meeting, and
I just have a comment on endorsements. Could something like the poll that Thomas talked about be provided on either the Facebook page or email or a Google Doc, like he said, to poll the general body of YDDC and see if they would be in favor of an endorsement process before the Rules Committee moves on fleshing out? I just think, the Rules Committee, you guys have very busy schedules, and before you move to put in the time and effort to work on the endorsement process, I think we need to ask more than who is just here right now.
And one thing Thomas said, and I want to add on to that, is the language being written by rules. So right now, the reason why that unofficial poll was taken is because one of Jordan and the Rules Committee's commitments is, do we want to write a 7-page document to put it in front of people that are just going to say, hell no, we didn't want this in the first place. Thank you for wasting our time. Wasting their time too, when they could be working on language to getting online voting polls. So right now we're working on a lot of rules. The Rules Committee is very in-depth on a lot of different issues. So knowing that the majority of people would like to see that written out on 7 pages, now they can spend that time doing that, as well as getting a form, a way to get the online polling going that we all feel comfortable and safe with, and getting it written into bylaws to bring it to you as well. The timeline is what we need to set up. And to tack on, that's all I got to say. I should just sit down.
Evan?
Since we're in a general election and we are the young Democrats of Denton County, I think it would be a higher priority to start fleshing out ways to get more involvement in voting online and things like that. And then we can table the endorsements until we actually have an opportunity to use that as leverage.
That's actually what we did not want to do. So it wouldn't look like we were favoring one party or the other, or one candidate or the other. We wanted to do this before the announcement of local candidates in January. That was kind of the thought process, was to do this before any candidate for any local office in Denton County was announced in January, to do this before any primary candidate for 2020 was announced. That way we did have a fair and balanced process. So that's why we do not want to wait until we have to use it, quote unquote. Any other comments before I move on with the rest of my committee report? All right. So the rest of my committee report, we did discuss other areas of discussion, and these are things that are also going to be discussed in the next committee, since we did have to bump up special elections to the top of our list of priorities. So of course, we're going to discuss endorsement processes at the next meeting. We're going to further discuss general meeting structure. The Political Affairs Committee, which at the current moment will most likely be chaired by the president. The president does not currently chair any committee. So this committee will be fleshed out and presented to y'all hopefully by the end of by the August meeting is my hope. There is also an ethics committee, which is something Richard Wolf brought up to the floor, and that will be discussed at our next committee meeting as well. The need for the ethics committee is apparent. So special meeting process was we just completed that. Woo. That's Article 4. And then I put some of the votes we had, or the only votes we had actually. So the rules, this is from our June meeting. Rules Committee held a vote to allow current EB members to run for a vacant EB position. So that was Article 4, Section 3, under subsection D. Yeah. So we did have a vote in that. There were some points of contention on that, so we held a vote, and that motion passed 4-1. Rules Committee held a vote to allow current members who ran for a vacant position but didn't win to run again for their current position. There's a lot of contentious points on that as well. That motion passed 5-0. And then finally, the Rules Committee voted to submit Article 5, which was the endorsement process, to the General Assembly, and that motion passed 4-1. But that's it for my committee report. Any other questions for me? We'll probably try to meet at least twice this month. So any other questions? Thomas?
And sorry, I can just talk loud here. Do we want to have one of these meetings where we discuss endorsements open, so we can put out a larger call if people want to have information that they could actually submit information in advance?
So all committee meetings are open. Yeah. So you can come to any meeting you want to.
If any of y'all are interested, I'm the vice chair, please hit me up. I'll be able to let you know the information. We do have people that connect remotely, so we can support that kind of stuff for our meetings. So.
Any other? Richard?
When was the ethics committee thing going to be happening?
So we're going to try to get that's something I want to have done by July.
Okay.
So that's something I want to have done quickly, or done well.
I just want to know when the meeting of the.
So our July meeting has not been announced yet.
Okay.
So I'll let you know. It'll be announced on Facebook, and I'll let you know personally.
Sweet. Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions about Rules Committee stuff? All right. Thank you.
All right, so next we're going to talk about dues, and I know there's going to be some issues, so Jordan is going to help be the Robert's Rules guru on that. But what I wanted to say is about the dues before we dive into this a little bit. We've proposed that we do free, no dues for ages 14 to 18, $10 for college students, $20 for those of you who are not students. What I wanted to say is,
Yearly
Yeah, this is for a year. This won't be monthly. It will be for a year. We will give you guys 30 days. So after I say all that, what I want to say is this. No one will not be able to be a member of the Young Democrats of Denton County because they cannot afford to pay the dues. That's not something I want. I don't want anyone who wants to be a part of this organization to feel that they cannot be a part of this organization. What I am asking is in good faith, if you know that you can scrape up $10 for a year, could you do that for me? If you know that you could scrape up $20 for a year, can you do that for me? If you could sponsor someone else, could you do that for me? You know, maybe you just cut out a couple drinks from Starbucks and you make it happen. If you cannot afford it, just let us know. Hey, I'm strapped, I really don't have it and I can't afford it. And it will not become an issue of, since you cannot afford it, you cannot be a part of this organization. But if you guys have it, please know that we do need it in order to do good work on your behalf. And so now we're gonna open it up. But I wanted you to know that. That is not an issue of, if you can't pay, you cannot be a part of the Young Democrats. That will not happen. It's not gonna happen.
So, do I need to stand up in front of the camera to do this? Oh, okay. Hello. So before I begin with this, I just wanted to let you all know that we actually have a almost $120 contribution that's set aside just to cover those who may not afford a membership. So $120 could be 6 adults, 12 students, but that is already set aside, so we will be ready to go right away with that. And I would like, I know the bylaws or the rules committee is saddled a lot with this. There's definitely something we could do to structure that, and a way of like establishing how we would do hardship, scholarship, whatever we want to call it. But just to start, I just first wanted to talk about why the dues are important. I know a lot of people talk about buy-in and whatnot. No, actually, before I even begin, first we are joined by an elected official. We always have I always like, this is very important to me because we should always, so we have Flower Mound Town Council member Brian Webb here. Oh, you're officially off now? I'm off. Okay, then he turned out, so he's actually running for county commissioner for. Yep, and I know that we're going to have a full-on kind of county level position meeting coming up very soon, but I have to say, I am a big supporter of people who run for county commission, because if any of you guys know, county commission is probably the most important position that's on the ballot and no one talks about. So please, 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 I beg of you, give him a consideration, because like this is of helping out, because if you care about development, if you care about infrastructure in our county, if you care about voting, how our precincts are established, how our elections are run, that's what they're kind of in charge of. So like everything.
That's my job description, yes.
It's more than just statues and buildings. So oh yeah.
If you want to come up, you can come stand.
That's all right. Your fund that you've got, it just grew by $100 from my campaign. I'll get you a check here in the next few weeks, okay?
So there you go, guys. We have, what is it now, $219, so it's ready to go. So we definitely have it set aside that if those who might not be able to pay, that we'll have something ready to go for them. So I guess, like, even though we started a little bit like the cart before the horse, let's back up. And so I want to talk a little bit about why we need dues. So the first one I wanted to talk about, because I've been kind of hearing this around our membership, about where our money can potentially come from, where it can't potentially come from. So the first one I'd like to start off with is that I've heard from a couple of people that that they thought we would be getting money from the county party. And this is the reason why this is not the case. So the county party is actually part of the TDP, or Texas Democratic Party, which is part of the DNC. Our organization here is part of the Texas Young Democrats and the Young Democrats of America. While we are still part of the Democratic Party, we are actually separated out from the Democratic National Committee. So we are not part of, so that's why it's not like we can go up and ask them as part of like as the mother organization to us. Now, I guess there is a possibility that we could ask about, you know, from higher up organizations. It's one of those things that one of the reasons why we want to raise our own money is for the case of autonomy. It's us being able to fund ourselves, and that way when we're approached on to any other other organizations, we get to come to the table as an equal partner. Somebody with equal footing, that we are well funded for ourselves, and that we have something to say and we have something to provide, and we would like to help in whatever way possible, but we are equal partners in this case. And then, and this is just something from my own experience of, so when I was in college, I worked in the alumni, they call it the development office, but specifically like along with the alumni relations. And so I was responsible for calling recent alumni to give to the organization, or give to the school. And they call it the Office of Development. And as you can kind of see with our bylaws that we were just passing, we are in the process of development. We're developing our organization, and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of talent, and is for me, Paige, and George, a lot of treasure. And we are asking you guys as part of the organization to kind of help us out, because we kind of might be hundreds of dollars in ourselves. We have bought in, and we need some help. And this is where it kind of starts, is that we're hoping that with this kind of help that we can actually make our impact. I put on the back of some of our, with the sheet that's proposing the dues. This was the tentative budget that we presented last month. And while this isn't, we still haven't had a chance to actually sit down and give a final budget, because there's a lot of things that we've had to table this for. As you can see, that in order for us to make an impact on this election, we're going to need money. If anything else, even if we run strictly on volunteer power, we still have to pay for materials, office supplies, anything like that, tables for our events, pens, yes, exactly, and literature, and more literature. That all costs money, and you can see that there's other ways that we can expand our reach that also cost money. But they'll still be largely run on volunteer power, but volunteerism alone, like volunteer work alone, won't make the magic happen. And what's more important about all this too is that while we could accept large donations, and by the way, hello people out there, if you have large checks, we also accept those. It's still, this is one of those things that power goes to the people. We want to start building campaigns that are based off of small donations, small donors. Again, PACs aren't bad, aren't bad necessarily, especially if they're run on small dollars. But the fact is that the only people who give to PACs are those mega donors, the really big ones. And so this is kind of our way of contributing. And for us to make any kind of electoral impact, it starts at this level. So this is why we have this due structure going. And I wasn't sure how were we planning to do this? Yeah. So at this point, I would like to open it to discussion. I know that Jordan.
So according to the Constitution, we can't vote on approving this until next meeting, or 14 days after, actually. But yeah, so we aren't voting to approve this until next meeting. And I'm sure all these documents will probably be uploaded to the online Facebook discussion group, so you can share with people who weren't able to make it to this meeting. But yeah, so yeah, any discussion points?
I have a question as to how did you guys come up with the numbers, the prices, one, and two, is there going to be something, probably in the bylaws at some point, put in place to verify college or adult status or high school status? So I guess a two-part question.
Okay. To answer the first question, these numbers that we came out of the back is a work in progress. It was just for us to kind of have a goal in mind, that a reason why these are why we need the money. The numbers on the back, well, the only numbers that I will say that are facts are the numbers before any of the bare bones or any of those.
I mean the dues numbers, the 20 and 10.
This is just what when we were discussing for the proposal, according to the Constitution, the president or the treasurer, in this case both, this is what we agreed on. Oh, sorry.
If we didn't scrap a couple Starbucks runs, that they would be able to afford it. We didn't want to set the amount super high where people felt strained to kind of pay their dues. We wanted to just make it like a small number for right now so that everybody would be able to contribute.
Okay, so there's and I'm not dogging it, but there's no research or specific reason for those numbers. They're just and it's fine, but it's just what.
I guess.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And I guess to kind of give it a relative amount, other organizations have much higher ones. I think Latino Dems is 60, if I remember correctly, and Stonewall is 40. Is that right, George? So 20 and 10 is still low.
And free, don't forget free.
And the free for high school students. But I think you are very much correct that we need to. I think it's very important to outline what these categories, who would belong to these categories and whatnot. So I definitely agree with that.
Sorry. By the way, my name's Josh. I also speak very loud. Oh, yeah. I was lucky today to meet Stephen here at the Beto rally, and he needed some help, and I noticed he was carrying water. I thought he actually worked for the Beto organization at first, but he told me that he literally only had enough money to get 2.5 cases of water, and I was lucky enough to be standing there, and I got to help him, and I was very happy to do that. So you said there's a 30-day grace period for the dues, correct? If by any chance maybe I could just be the catering branch, the marshmallow popsicles were good, but man, I would love to provide food for your meetings. I would also, after sitting through this meeting, obviously a lot of this stuff is new to me. I've always been involved in politics, but I was on the school council, but I'm a better cook than I am a politician. But yes, I would love to pay my dues, but if for the next meeting, before I pay my dues, can I just cater the next meeting? I hope everybody here likes Texas barbecue, because that's what you're going to get. That or tea sandwiches, whatever I got in my fridge. But that's all I had to say. Yeah, does anybody second on that one?
Hello? Yep, there we are. I have a feeling we may be talking to you about catering some fundraising, small fundraising dinners.
I would love to help in that aspect as well. I could definitely pull that off. I have several chef friends that would love to help you guys out as well.
And this kind of shows you for this whole thing that with this whole process, there's 3 T's we always talk about: time, talent, and treasure. Apparently, we have just found some talent.
All right, can I have everyone raise their hand that wants to speak? Evan, do you still want to speak? Okay. Evan was first. Do you have a mic? All right, it's Evan, and then Thomas, and then George.
Do we have an estimate of how much the membership dues would actually get us?
I'm so sorry. An estimate, I mean, right now we're so new that the reason why it's twofold why we need dues. We also need to keep raising more funds so we can buy things like literature to go and do all these events we want to table and be impactful at. But second of all, it also gives us a more unified, strong voice. You know, Leslie made a point that not everyone can come to every single meeting. That's a really great point. And we've been kind of seeing some familiar faces and a ton of new faces, and it'd be nice to have paid members that are maybe making more of an effort, or we'd have a more unified list as to how many to expect at each meeting, how many we can expect to each event. That way it gives us a better idea of how much food we need to have at certain places, how many chairs we need, what's our room capacity going to be? Because as we keep growing and the more members we have a strong list of, we know what spaces we can and can't use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I hope that answered your question, but as far as monetary value, we won't know until we have a strong list of members. If we have 60 members and they all pay $20, there's $1,200, right? Sorry.
Yeah, that's the math. Okay. So whenever we formed, I was actually like really against the idea of collecting dues. One of the primary reasons being is it is a limiter. I kind of like where these numbers are at because, you know, it sounds inconsequential, but like, as George pointed out, if 60 people donate $20, that's $1,200. That's a lot of monies. Yeah. I am also for a stronger donation, but at the same time, it takes money for us to be able to make money, to be able to start developing these things. I personally, out of pocket for a lot of the gear here, not all of it, I spent out of pocket for it. These folks here have paid for t-shirts, for any lit, for a lot of the other things that have gone into starting where we're at. I'm kind of for like the idea of dues, but I think we need to make it exorbitantly clear for people that aren't able to pay those dues that we have ways to cover you, that there are ways that you can do work for us that will short circuit that you don't need to do that. You know, one of the biggest problems that we have is the idea that a lot of people in our age group don't have the time or the ability to necessarily come out to these events. They don't have the ability to contribute in standard ways. They don't know how to get involved because they can't come to events. And these baseline measures will help us develop. I think it's also important to note that whenever we go about doing this, and I guess this will have to be done through the Rules Committee as well, that we bring in as much contact. You know, for somebody that wants to donate food, dude, if you donate food, you shouldn't have to pay the whole damn year. Like, if you bring stuff frequently, you come, you're involved, like, that's more than enough. You know? Yeah. So for me personally, I'm for it, but I also think that we need to have strong limitations for people that aren't able to afford it, that we're able to help close the gap and get people involved that aren't. And if people view a monetary contribution as that limiter for them, we may turn off a whole bunch of people that aren't able to do it. And that's my biggest concern out of it. But if we do it well, we could sidestep that issue completely. And with that, I'll return the mic.
Oh, sorry.
So,
let me 4 seconds, I promise. I don't know if y'all caught the last part where I said if you couldn't afford it, if it is a limiter for you, to let us know. And we have a scholarship fund, and that will not be a reason why you cannot be a part of the Young Democrats of Denton County. So that's not a discussion piece for us, because if you can't afford it, we get it, let us know. You will not be kicked out, and we won't make you trade work for membership either.
So that, I don't even need this. I don't even know how. I'm already really loud. No, my question was actually, is there a process lined out for asking for a scholarship A lot of people don't want to talk about their financial situations. Like, I'm currently unemployed. I'm not embarrassed about it, but it's also like, you don't want people to feel like they're asking for charity. I think we need to be a little, money is really sensitive for millennials and just people in general, and I understand the scholarship fund. I'm very excited about that. I just think we should maybe talk about how we phrase that out, or just like put an online form, like an anonymous thing, just like, and just, it's hard to talk about money stuff. And the second question is, in terms of rules, does adopting dues mean that a member in good standing is a dues paying member? Yes. Okay.
According to the Constitution, yes.
That's just my question. I'm just trying to make them off those charities.
Did you want to answer the questions first?
Okay, what we decided what we decided was basically we know people are sensitive about that. I get it. I'm a single mom. Trust me, I understand. If you would just contact us or email us, we're not going to make it a hard process where we're like, we want to see your income and we want to see what you're paying for. This what we're proposing is not like, we're not making it hard. If you can't afford it, just email us. Contact anybody on the member you feel on the board that you feel comfortable with, and say, hey, I don't have it, and we got you. We understand. It's as simple as that.
I think it should probably be more like an actual scholarship process where you have to fill out an application, not anything like in depth to where people would feel like you're unduly going through their personal information, but just with your name. Maybe. What?
Hold on. Let her finish.
Yes, we'll give you the form.
Okay, well, as a form to put up on the website or something so that people don't feel like they're actually having to ask someone personally for a handout.
Okay, yeah, so if they don't know us, then they can just, and that way we can track
Yes,
like
just
information.
like a form with your name, your age, where you live in the county, saying, I'm applying for this scholarship.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, because we have to track whatever money we receive, we also have to track where it goes. So if you contact us and let us know, then we can fill out the information. But what you're saying, yes.
Just a note, point of order, have all discussion points directed to the chair, to the president from now on. Richard?
I'm sorry. No, I just feel like the way you're going about it is the most proper way to do it, because I mean, why would you have somebody fill out a form? The only reason why I would see somebody filling out one of those forms is because maybe you have to write it off to the IRS or whoever you're dealing with. Other than that, I feel that maybe it's more important for a person to be able to say, hey, I can't afford this,
Well, we do actually have to track all the money. So,
Okay.
like what I was saying when I said, hey, just contact us. If you know George knows you, George will just write your name down, put your information down. We'll give it over to Jen. Jen will make sure she tracks it, because whatever money we receive, we have to document where it went to.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
And we can make that form available online, so if people can't make it to the meetings or they don't know any of us personally, they can just email it to us.
Yeah, so raise your hands.
Yeah, we are family here. We love, this is a loving meeting.
I'm sorry. What happens to people who don't pay their dues?
Okay, first answer to the question before. The two main credentials we need for people to be a member are between the ages of 14 and 40 and living in Denton County. So those two pieces of information would need to be written down. We're not going through your tax returns. We're not going through your income. The due requirements and the scholarships will go to people who are within the age range of 14 and 40 who live in Denton County. Just to make that clear. The question about dues, with any organization, when your yearly membership is up, we'll probably give you about a 2-month heads up to let you know, hey, in 60 days, you need to re-up for your next year to support the Young Democrats of Denton County, and then you have your 30-day extension past when your actual date is. So really, it's a 3-month, which could be written into the rules. Of course.
But like, let's say I'm a loser and I don't pay my dues. What happens to me?
You would be notified multiple times. You'd be given a 2-month on your month, and then you'd give a 1 before your month, and then when your day is up, you'd get a 30-day extension. So you'd have 90 days.
Yeah, but then what? Like, what actually happens
Then
to
you
me
get an
if
email
I-
saying, hey, you're no longer in good standing. Therefore, when you show up to meetings, you're not allowed to place a vote until you get your membership taken care of.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or unless you need to submit and say, yo, this last 30 days, last 60 days, last 90 days, I lost my job. I don't know this. I don't have the money right now. Could I apply for a scholarship? Absolutely. Right. You can still come to meetings. You can still be involved in events, but like you won't be a member in good standing per the bylaws.
Any other discussion points? All right. We will not be voting on this measure until next meeting. So if you have any discussion points between now and then, please let everyone know. I move to close the period of discussion.
One more point.
There's been an objection.
So, are we going to be talking about this and codifying this into the rules during the next coming meetings?
So this is not priority one for Rules Committee. Dues are not, Rules Committee is not in charge of the dues. It's the treasurer and the president. The Rules Committee can be in charge of codifying, as you said before, certain rules and procedures, such as the scholarship practice, how do you apply for that, et cetera, et cetera. That's something Rules can handle. For this month, we're focusing on the Ethics Committee and voting online. So that's what the Rules Committee is focusing on for this month, but that's not pertinent. So I move to close the period of discussion. Is there a second? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right. Do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. We actually have a guest speaker. Is it the button again? Do you have a briefing? Do you want to brief him? Okay. Jen is going to introduce him.
So I really want to thank him for being with us today. So who we brought with us is Julio Costa. He's been actually traveling back and forth between McAllen and here. And so he's actually a really close friend of mine. Julio is the Social Justice Director at the Domingo Garcia Law Firm. He is also the founder of the DFW Líderes, which is part of the Global Leaders Initiative, which is a grassroots platform that connects change makers to other change makers and is intentionally as intersectional as possible. And for the last year or so, he's been focusing on immigration issues. And I have to say, I am so pleased to know him. He's been traveling back and forth between DC and here with sitting in with Dreamers, using his privilege as a citizen to protect them. And he has also been doing a lot of great work with, at least where I live in Carrollton. I know that we had Michelle here was talking about how he was helpful, and that I would actually say he was the person who really pushed that forward. He has spoken in front of Austin, in front of legislators when SB4 was up, and he's spoken in front of definitely city councils all over the area. So I'd just like to introduce my good friend Julio Costa.
Test. Okay. First and foremost, I am extremely impressed by all of you. Like, extremely impressed. I think if the Democratic Party could run like this body, I think we would be in much, much better shape. So just thank you guys so much. So about June 2017, I started being involved, and I saw that a lot of different groups were doing great work, but they were working as silos. And I was like, why don't we just start working together on common goals? So I created a Facebook Messenger group that became a Facebook group, that became a Facebook page called DFW Líderes Comunitarios, and it started focusing on immigration. Then I started, like she said, I went to DC with Dreamers and with Temporary Protected Status people, and then with the National Council of the National Legislative Council, Quakers, and I learned about like people from across the country that were working on different issues, criminal justice, education, all these different issues. So I was like, instead of just immigration, let's like try to intentionally be as intersectional as possible, because my personal belief is one reason that we've been losing around the world is because Latinos work on their issues, African Americans work on their issues, Christians, Muslims, like all this separation. And what I'm trying to develop is where we realize that the power is in unity. And the power is for us to say, you know what, I may not know exactly what you're going through, but that's wrong. And I will stand in solidarity with you. And like MLK said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So ever since about 4 months ago, when I came back from the last trip from DC, I create, again, this is all grassroots platform. There's no money, there's no dues, there's not even a, like, I don't even have a spreadsheet for who it is. But what I'm trying to do is develop a space for change makers to connect to other change makers. So that includes activists, community leaders, organizers, long-term, hopefully elected officials, embassies, et cetera. Like, I just want the people that deal with power to know each other and not necessarily be best friends, but to at least know what each other is doing so we can support each other's efforts. And if someone says, hey guys, this is coming up on city council, or this is coming up in county commissioner court and I have no idea how to stop it, there can be another one that says, actually, have you tried reaching out to XYZ? And then like, so it's basically a space for people to ask questions and just be connected to others. So if you're interested, the local group is DFW Líderes. And then when I came back, I created a Texas Leaders, US Leaders, and Global Leaders. Texas Leaders will try to focus on like SB4 and Texas issues. US Leaders will try to focus on, obviously, like Congress and like immigration and like education at the federal level. And then Global Leaders for peace in the Middle East and other issues that are just global in nature. And again, it's very grassroots right now. It's really a lot me, to be honest. But long term, I would love it to be a space. And that's why 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said that I just made up a term called Global Leadership Initiative, Global Leaders Initiative, because that's what I want. Long term, what I'm trying to develop are toolkits, so that literally anyone around the world, I'm going to make them in English and Spanish because hablo español, so I'm going to make them in English and Spanish, but I want anyone, anywhere in the world to find a Google folder that says, you know, basic training or basic something, and it talks about power mapping, talks about primary target, secondary target, it talks about, you know, educating yourself, educating others, finding allies. Long term, you know, say we have someone in a certain town or village in Africa, and they identify that, you know, in their village they don't have electricity, and the electricity company doesn't want to come. So maybe one person finds these toolkits. Again, there's going to be basic, intermediate, advanced, and expert, and then says, you know, can we work on something with like solar panels? And then the developed countries be like, hey guys, let's do a youcaring.com for solar panels. And then we have it be like a small business endeavor and like train him and support that person. And he comes back and he like, you know, so again, like all these different things. And the important thing I think is that I want community leaders to identify their own issues in their own community. And I want to support them. I say we want to find, identify, train, empower, and support community leaders all over the world. What I would like to do is to have 300 DFW leaders, 3,000 Texas leaders, 300,000 US leaders, and 3 million global leaders. Again, those are numbers that I just, you know, if we can have more, even better, but I don't believe we need every 7 billion to be on board with us. I believe there's a critical mass that we can achieve, and then be the ones that train others. And so let's see here. So that's DFW leaders and global leaders. And then yesterday, I helped organize the hashtag Free the Children rally in McAllen. And we went and, we went and we were gonna rally in front of where they're holding the children in McAllen. It's called Ursula Detention Center. It's on Ursula Street in McAllen. And we were rallying. Domingo Garcia spoke, Imam Omar Solomon was there, Reverend Peter Johnson, who walked with MLK. And basically, we were rallying, and as we were rallying, and you can look at the Facebook Live videos on Domingo Garcia for Lula President, Viva Bernie 2020, and the United Families of America, which I'll come to later. But we were rallying, and then a bus came out, and then someone said, there's kids in there. And I looked over and I saw like a 12-year-old hand doing this, about 20 years old. And many of us broke. And it was live on CNN and live on NBC. And again, you can see the Facebook Live videos. I can share them to you if you'd like, and maybe we could uplift them there. But basically, organically, people just went around the bus and people got in front of the bus, and we just didn't want it to go. And we ended up being there, and we ended up detaining that bus for a good 20, 30 minutes. And it was one of the most heartbreaking and most powerful moments of my life. We were crying. We were crying seeing these children. Some of them were 8. You can see pictures. Alia Salem took amazing pictures where you can actually see their faces, and they're holding the bars on this bus, on the ICE bus. And we told them, there's a chant, we said, it is the original one says, it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. So we kind of adapted that to say, it is our duty to fight for these kids. It is our duty to win. We must love them and protect them. We have nothing to lose but their chains. And we told them, we see you, we love you. Los vemos, los queremos. Los vemos, los queremos. Because we wanted them to know that we see them and we love them. And we hope, and my personal prayer, my personal hope is that wherever they end up, I hate saying that so much. My personal prayer is that wherever they end up, rumors start where they say, there was these people and we were coming out and they told us that they love us, and it seems like there's people fighting for us in here. And I mean, these are 12-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 5-year-olds. Like when you see the pictures, again, most heartbreaking moment, most empowering moment, one of my life, one of the most. And it really emblazoned me, and it really pushes me. So from there, we're pushing something on July 4, and we're hoping for it to be a global effort. We're calling it the United Families of America. And July 4, across the entire nation, we're asking, here in Dallas, we're gonna occupy ICE. We're going to go to the ICE center that's near I-35 Empire Central. In Fort Worth, 1 hour south, there's a place called Pearland Detention Center. And that's about 30 minutes south of Fort Worth. And we're gonna ask cities to choose an area and to just rally in front of it peacefully. We're gonna ask people to rally in front of it, and that's the United States. And then around the world, anywhere there's a U.S. embassy, we're gonna ask people to go to that U.S. embassy. And as a hashtag, we the people of the world, we want them to know that we want family reunification as soon as is humanly possible under congressional oversight. That's one of the demands. And again, these aren't asks. These are demands, because the moment that the administration, the moment that Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, Jeff Sessions chose to break international law by separating children from their asylum-seeking parents, that moment we broke international law. I hope The Hague and the international courts holds these people accountable. Like really, really, they need to be held accountable. So I do hope that happens, because they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were breaking international law, and they still chose to do so. So hopefully they'll be held accountable. But basically, what can people do? I always say every single day, every time you can, your 2 senators and your congressman, or your representative, your 2 senators and your representative, social media every day as much as you can. Obviously, I don't want you 24/7 on there, like live your life, do your thing, but whenever you can, do uplift in social media. And then Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, do call your representatives. There's a 5 calls app, there's a different phone lines, and they do take into account. I've gone to DC 3 times in the last 6 months, and the legislative aides, what they do is they tally, like that day, like what did people discuss? And when I call them, I can say, can I leave comments on 4 different things? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I leave comments on 4 different things, like these kids, the DREAM Act, B, C, and D. Whatever matters to you, you can leave comments on. And at the end of the day, they tally those, and then they say, well, this is what we got calls for today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it does matter if you call, if you email, if you write letters in handwriting, anything. And what I'm saying is we're not asking, we're demanding that they stop breaking. Well, now, just so you guys know, now with the executive order, I believe they're not separating children anymore. And actually, last night, a mother called me Um, and she had been detained 2 days ago, and she was released with her 2 children, 2 boys, this morning, and they actually stopped by the Dallas Greyhound, and I was able to take them blankets and water because they had nothing, and I bought them some McDonald's and enough to like get them to where they were heading. And basically, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. Kind of forgot. I apologize. Trying to remember. Well, you can do. Okay, so now they're not separating. From that experience, from learning firsthand that they let her go the same day almost, it's possible that they're not separating them, or possible. However, there are 2,600 kids that were separated from their child. And then 6 days ago, I read an interview with an ex-ICE director that said, there is no way to guarantee that we're going to return every child to their parent. And that broke me as a human being. How can a human being say, there's no way that we can guarantee that we're going to return a child to his or her parent? Like, that's so beyond whatever I expected Trump to be able to do. To be able to say that, we know 23andMe has volunteered to do genetic makeup because they gave A numbers to the parents, but they haven't, to our knowledge, they haven't given numbers to the children. So there's no, like, they purposefully, I believe, this is my opinion, this is speculating, they purposefully messed up as much as they could at the beginning because there was no intention of really returning these children. We know that about 40 parents have been deported already, and the children are here in the United States. So again, like, there's a lot to learn. I'll follow up more. I don't know how long we have, but basically that's what to do. Like, call, organize, be active in these groups. November, extremely important. All 435 representatives, more than 20 senators, more than 12 governors. What I say personally, and this is Julio Acosta saying, is Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton, Dan Patrick, Matt Rinaldi. I was there when Matt Rinaldi called ICE. I was in the chambers when he said he called ICE, which again, ICE, they choose if they go or not. And if ICE ever arrests someone for exercising their Second Amendment right, I think, no, that's the Second Amendment, Fifth Amendment, First Amendment to speak, First Amendment, then that would be a constitutional, storm. Oh yeah, I am Matt Rinaldi's constituent. Yeah, I've sat with him and we agree on corporate tax handouts, but that's pretty much it. So basically, they are horrible. Their actions, their policy, what they say, all of the that I listed are horrible. I'm an independent voter, and I just know that they've pushed me so far away that, like, I'm in your camp now, pretty much. Like, they've brought me to your side, and many, I believe, to your side. So let's put in the work. I know that you guys are students. I know that you work. What I say is, like she said, time, talent, treasure. You possibly know people that don't have any time at all, but maybe they have a little bit of treasure, or maybe they have a little bit of talent, graphic design, web design, all these different things. And again, they could teach us, and then we could like take it on. So definitely time, talent, treasures. Don't feel like you have to give an hour a week or something, just whatever you're able to. There's different seasons of life. If you have a child that's a newborn, you're gonna be busy, and we understand. So that's what I tell people. One of the quotes that I do wanna leave you with is, we are the leaders that we have been waiting for. And some of the civil rights leaders, they told the United We Dream people, which I love, is what we did may not have been enough, but it was necessary. So everything we're doing right now, and your group, again, is incredibly amazing. I will definitely do everything I can to uplift it. But what we're doing right now may not be enough, but it is completely necessary. And you're building the power. You're building the power to really overturn things. And honestly, November, I wish, after the election, 2016, the day after, I posted the image saying, November 6, 2018, like, prepare for it. I literally started preparing the day after Trump won the Electoral College vote. Literally, like, I was like, okay, that happened. Let's get to work on November. And that's what I tell people. Like, something happened. Let's start working on the next one. So here, I know we only have, not that long till November, but we're still able to do a lot. And the win, I believe, is building that power. Because right now, if we have the election and it's 30-70, if we can get to 55-45, at least they feel like they don't have a mandate, and that will be a change. So regardless, keep working hard. Your leaders seem amazing, and I'm sure all of you guys are leaders in your own right, which is even more amazing, to be honest, because that's what you want. Like, I personally know that in any organization, I don't want 5 people guiding everything. I want it to be a team effort. So you got your questions were spot on. Like I cannot tell you how impressed I am by all of you. But again, Julio Acosta, DF de Bilires, the July 4 is the United Families of America. If we're going to try to make it a global event, where tomorrow we start planning that at 1:30 p.m. So if you have any questions, I'll be here as late as needed. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yeah, that's right.
You had stated that there was an app, 5 Calls?
Yeah, there's an app called 5 Calls. It shows different issues, and you click on it, and then it says, here's your representatives, and then it gives you their phone numbers, and then if they don't pick up, like for example, sometimes I call it the DC office, they don't pick up, it lets you call the North Texas office, or the South Texas office, or the Central Texas office. When you talk to your senators, they ask for your zip code. When you talk to your representative, they ask for your street address. I leave that. Even if they don't ask for it, I leave it because, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can definitely do that Monday through Friday if you get 5 minutes, and it really does count. Like these aides, because they are legislative aides, like they're like, hey, hi, it's me again, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, may I leave 4 comments? Yeah, what are your 4 comments? So et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Great question. Any other questions? Sorry, yeah, that's a great point.
I have a quick question. Is there any way you can write down like 3 calls to action that you would recommend for us, and then we'll post
Okay,
it on Facebook to make
I'll
sure
do
that
that. Yeah,
everyone knows
I'll be happy.
3 specific things that they can do?
I'll be happy to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you guys, Alia Salem, she took incredible pictures. Imam Omar Suleiman was also there. So you can check them out too. And yeah, just Julio Acosta, you can send me a messenger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Okay. We're going to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, before we make the motion to adjourn, does anyone want to announce their candidacy for president or vice president? No speeches, just announcements. Anyone? We have.
Running for vice president. My name's Thomas Gravitt.
All right, Thomas has announced for vice president. Anyone else for president or vice president? Paige has announced for president. Thomas for vice president. You have until next meeting to announce, unless you're an officer. Anyone else? All right. We changed it in the bylaws. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Anyone else? All right.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you guys for coming. I love doing these meetings because we are a big loving family, and everyone has be kind and listen to what everyone has to say, and we try to run a drama-free zone here. All right, and I make the motion to adjourn the meeting. Oh, seeking the motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Thanks for saying